Roll call, please.
Fittiger,
Here.
Watson,
Here.
Kleinert,
Here.
Greening, Mente,
Here.
Peters,
Here.
Arthur, Carrico,
Here.
Partridge,
Here.
Duttlinger,
Here.
Besick.
Here. We have a quorum. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome to the second meeting of the Plan Commission on updating the comprehensive plan. Any comments on agenda items from the public? Hearing no comments, let's move on to the approval of the minutes of the last meeting. Minutes were submitted by email to all of the Plan Commission members. If there are no comments or any suggestions, additions, I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Motion by Partridge, second by
I'll second.
Peters. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Next item on the agenda is review of last month's presentation. Is there anything from last month's presentation on the demographics that we want to discuss and bring up before we move to the new topic?
I do have one question. Would, because of the Hispanic population increasing, would this be available in a Hispanic version as well then? Or is that a separate order?
That's something we haven't done before, but.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments on the demographics? Hearing none, let's move on then to tonight's review, which is updating of the 2020 plan goals and tasks and implementation. And I think prior to that, or after that, you want to present on the natural hazard. Which way do you want to do it? You make the decision. Natural hazards first. Okay, if you would. And we'll have the representatives from ICG present the natural hazards review. Kevin or Kelvin? Kelvin?
Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you all here again. Today we're here to talk about the natural hazards.
Turn that on.
Uh,
My button on the bottom.
Hello.
I think you're there now, Calvin.
Okay. Today we'll be running through the natural hazard changes. Luckily, there aren't really that many. Actually, only really two things. I see that we're still in the natural hazard mitigation plan. Still,
I can't hear you. If you could talk a little louder, maybe.
Sure. You guys are still within the natural hazard mitigation plan, and still really nothing new, no new elements. Really, you will only see that two new mitigation strategies have been added near the middle of the second page there. Would be 6 and 7 to participate in the development of a regional stormwater management ordinance that will reduce flooding and protect lives, property, and the environment. Number 7, to replace updated sirens with new and purchase sirens for gap areas identified in the city, and to network sirens just to other communities as well, just to have a better notice. That is really all there is to the changes to the natural hazards. You can see the multi-sensor precipitation has also changed just a bit, a little less rain. That is really all there is to the changes to that. Are there any questions?
Looks like number 6 is a duplicate of number 4. Unless there's like one word that's not.
Oh, it does. Yeah, you're right.
We'll check on that
Yeah.
for the 2020
Yeah.
plan. We have that perfect indicator.
Yeah, I don't see it.
And then
And
is,
I'm thinking of the South County Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Oh.
In there, we just copied it over correctly.
The only other question would be if, is this where you would incorporate like the city's plan for extreme temperatures? Like when they open up for warming and cooling centers?
Yeah.
That kind of
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah.
It's number 2, I think. Andy.
Oh, is it?
Okay.
Perfect.
And if there were some updates on what you're doing now, we could add that into the end of the chapter.
I just see a couple typos.
Okay.
The first paragraph on the first page, adopting the plan in, looks like that needs to be filled in. Or did you mean to put a year there?
Yeah, we'll put the date on it.
And
It
then,
should begin to start with. in 2020.
and then on this second page, the second to last paragraph, I would assume that update has already been completed. So maybe that needs to be that paragraph deleted or rewritten.
Or it was completed, is that,
Yeah, it was completed.
so it just says, the 2020 MP is complete, was completed in summer.
And I'm sure, we'll check on the date, because I think, it was completed fall, summer, we'll check on that. And it was approved by, FEMA here, I believe, in October.
Now, any one of these items that we have on here is worthy of further discussion. This is just the plan, which lays out the plan. And if we pick one of those items, we'll get into it into a lot more detail.
Yeah. If you'd like to.
One more addition, I believe that in the last administration, they prepared a communication plan in the event of a disaster or hazard that might want to be noted on here.
We need some more detail on that.
Okay.
This might be a little bit off subject, but what are the requirements for heating and cooling centers?
I don't know the requirements or if there are any in regards to that. That I don't know. I think that's.
So we would have, if we were gonna identify and promote it,
Emergency response group would probably know more detail on what's required for that. If there are any requirements, if you have one, you know what I mean, you may just have a heating and cooling center, and it is what you're able to do, is what you're able to do.
yeah, but there are some that say you have to have somebody on hand, has to be open 24 hours of contact, restroom facilities, possibly shower facilities, something like that. I'm not sure what they have. Any other comments, questions about natural hazards, part of the presentation? Hearing none, Calvin, I think we should move on then.
Moving on to the goals, strategies, and tasks. We'll run through sections of chapters here. And we'll go through anything that is updated, or that's missing, or just isn't useful anymore. We'll get you guys input on it. First, we have public policy, in partnership with IBCC and other regional organizations. Have you guys seen that going the way you'd like it to?
All right, under public policy, the first one is improve existing partnership with IVCC.
Yes, sir.
My personal feeling about that is that we don't do enough with IVCC for our college community. And we should be taking advantage of the fact that we are a college community and find out exactly what they need in order to promote them as well as the city and make that connection. I think we have to be doing that.
Yeah, I would agree. That should be maintained as a goal.
Maintain it as a goal. Right.
Then I, you guys feel that you've been meeting the tasks as well, meeting with them, representatives.
Well, the city's been meeting with them on their annexation and utilities and things like that recently, so there's been those type of discussions.
Still keeping up.
So not regular ongoing.
Not very ongoing.
I think the goal should be to have the entire college annexed area up there. But nice to have goals.
Maybe it's starting regular meetings. Because if you're not doing it now on a regular basis.
Right.
Start doing that.
Mhm.
Even if it's quarterly, twice a year, start somewhere.
Yep.
And that's communication.
Would that be like at a plan commission level or at the city council level? Like, where does that goal
That's what I was gonna ask. Who's responsible for that task?
Yeah.
I would think it'd be more at the city council level because it's more than, probably more decisions that need to be made, that can be made at the council level. They're not probably doing too many changes as far as what they're doing that's going to affect the land commission.
I think the city could set up a committee of some kind. It might include somebody from the council, somebody from one of the other commissions, zoning or land commission or something, to set up a committee that would be responsible for the coordination with activities from the college.
We'll work that into that task one rewording.
Right, right.
So on the second task, are all those organizations still in existence?
IBC, Scenic Byway, are they still around?
Yes, they're.
The Economic Development Corporation is still there too, correct?
Yes. Heritage Quarter Convention Center Bureau is still there, yes.
Heritage Quarter still exists? as a
Yeah.
Heritage
Yeah.
Quarter? Are there any others? That would be involved with colleges, that's basically what we're talking about.
Well, no, this.
Oh, I see, the other.
Regional
Yeah,
organizations.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm with you.
The only other one that comes to mind is, I'm assuming Cannon Falls in there, is the Starved Rock Community
Foundation.
Foundation. Might be worthy to, note in there. How many of these are the city actually involved in, Becky? I know IVAC and the Heritage Corridor.
IVAC, the Scenic Byway, the NCIEDC, and Heritage Corridor, all of them in some way or another.
What is Starbuck Community?
Does the Visitors Bureau still exist?
I think that's
Well,
lumped
that's
in
part
with
of the
the,
Heritage
it's
Corridor.
It's part of the
lumped in with
Heritage
Corridor, yeah.
Are there any others? That anybody can think of?
LaSalle County. I mean, we work with their tourism department for funding and things like that.
LaSalle County Board or something? Or
Right.
Is there an organization outside of the county board?
Tourism.
Well, there's a
It's a
tourism
committee
committee.
on the county board.
Or is-
Are we suggesting to add the Starved Rock Foundation?
Starbuck Community Foundation.
There's no reason why we shouldn't have it, I don't think.
It's partially why we're here.
Starved Rock Community
Foundation.
Foundation, Federation, keep it up.
We'll acronym. We'll make an acronym.
And the South County Tourism will have the-
Any others?
What does the mayor participate in with the mayoral talk? Who puts that on?
The mayor's meetings, they meet informally, I think, don't they?
What's that kind of name? But are you thinking about, IVAC?
I was thinking it was put on by IVAC, but I don't,
Yeah, I think
okay,
it
it's
was.
just, okay.
That's part of that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Any others? I would ask the commissioner out there, are there any others?
I think
Is there a local ambulance or, local anything?
Well, they did the IVRD board, but I think, I mean.
Evaluation, just,
Yeah.
we'll put it on there.
Okay,
It's very exclusive to this, might want to add SCICG. We can even really control them.
okay, any other regional organizations? Do we want to restrict this to regional, or do we want to include something beyond regional in this public policy? In other words, are there county, state, federal, any kind of partnerships that we should be connected with?
You could add in, the DCO, Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity for team that covers this area.
Department of Com-
Yeah, Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity.
Besides-
Regional Economic Development.
Can we change that title then to something beyond regional?
If you want.
It's
I mean, that's still a
other
regional
regional.
group because
Take
it's,
out region.
they break, DCO breaks the state into like 10 or 11 regions. So it's, LaSalle County is part of one of those, the northwest region.
If we had a more inclusive term like any appropriate organization or something like that, that would say even you can go beyond the region. Some word that would sit there.
Okay, we'll look at that.
Just strike the word, just strike regional.
Just strike
Another
regional.
Appropriate organization.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Anything else on that?
What about the We Are Oglesby group?
Well, there would be an appropriate organization.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Add them.
Yeah, what's it called?
So if you suggest We Are Oglesby, like what would set us apart from like the Elks Club and, listing them as well?
You're looking for another adjective that would.
I'm just thinking like,
We're a fraternal organization.
that's what makes it different. Okay.
And if you say appropriate organization, that would mean anybody that really
Right.
would
Right.
benefit whatever the community's doing.
Yeah.
Well, I know, so if you're removing regional.
So, and if it's maybe not, it's including but not limited to the following groups.
Yeah.
I think the draw might try to
Think of other,
Or maybe it's like another section.
And there'll be other ones that come and go.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking that same thing.
Any other comments? Okay, can we move on to,
Let's do it.
what is the task there about the Star Rock Country branding efforts?
On, how do you guys feel like that's been going? Or if you have been?
What's that?
Or if you have been, marketing Oglesby, as a kind of touristy
Well,
destination with Starbuck.
We should be taking advantage of the fact that 2.4 million visitors come into this area and doing something to attract them to come to Oglesby. It's got to be some reason for them to come here. And, I don't know how we connect with whomever is putting that whole thing together.
I just looked through a heritage corridor, they put out those quarterly magazines, pamphlets, and I saw a lot of different towns along the I&M Canal and everything else had kind of little ads in there about their town and what we can do in there. That might be something to look at. And I don't know if we've done that before. I didn't see it in the current one. but-
Yeah, usually you're in there.
We normally are. I think that the last publication was during the time that we didn't have someone doing that position, but we are in for other magazines for this summer and fall.
I don't want to get involved in too many details because the details will come after. But the object is to coordinate and take advantage of the Star Rock Country
Well, I mean, we did last year start marketing ourselves as your Starved Rock Adventure starts here. We have banners that'll be going up in the downtown area. We try to use that on anything that any ads that we're doing now, branding us that way.
I think
We have the
maybe-
Starved Rock golf cars.
And I'm
This,
wondering if it's changing the branding to marketing, so whether it's like a tourism group, like Starbucks Country, Scenic Byway, MCIEDC that does marketing to industrial developments, Intersect Illinois, which is, covers all of Illinois, that does marketing for, the state for industrial development, and the DCO Red Team, so we can tweak that too a little bit, kind of do a little bit more of just marketing in regards to what we did before.
With that verbiage.
The previous task.
Should the goal be, or the task be, develop a marketing plan to take advantage of Starved Rock Country over Starved Rock Country?
Develop marketing plan that would then work with, you know, similar.
Since we're doing it,
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah, that's, you guys are already doing it, so just continue and add on to it. And I mean, you're right next to Madison too. It's a very nice park as well.
I have one thing, I don't know if it really falls under the under there, but, or if it would fall under tourism or transportation later, but definitely more directional signs for Oglesby that are, out by Starved Rock. So does it fall
There's something
here?
in here later in the.
Is it down, I know I had it marked in 3
It
different
might be
spots,
under
I
the
didn't know.
transportation section.
Okay.
But I'll make a note of wayfinding signage.
Okay, anything else under this part of the public policy task? Goals?
I guess we have, you guys exploring the home rule form of government,
Oh,
although,
that's next.
Yeah.
But under the first item, there's nothing else in the
Oh.
first item.
I thought you were referring to the whole section.
Okay, so we're done with that. I actually don't think home rule form of government is a proper terminology. It's called home rule, but it's not really a form of government.
Mhm.
It's just a policy that allows the city council to move funds around out of restricted funds. If they got too much money over here, they can't use it because it's restricted. And having home rule, you can move that money to wherever you need it. And that's gonna require a referendum. But I would leave that in there, because I think it's a good thing for the city to look at. Home rule.
Has it been in for a while?
Hmm?
Has that goal, home rule form, or I'm talking form of government? Has it been in the plan for a while?
Yes.
Yes, this
We
is
never
the
did
current,
anything on it.
this is the current unupdated, like, your guys' goals and, yeah, from 2020.
Was there a particular reason in the past that this was brought in, or just your description of what it's, maybe like a safety net or something, or an ability to move funds around? Or?
Well, I think the reason we brought it in is because we saw towns like Utica and Peru, you have to be under 25,000 people to have a referendum. If you're over 25,000 population, it's automatic. You can do that. But if you're under 25,000, you have to have a referendum. And Utica, Peru are both home rule. And so they're able to use that to their advantage, in promoting the city, and take care of what they need to take care of. So I think it's worthwhile to look at. I don't know if it's worthwhile to do.
Right.
It's worthwhile to look at to see what the advantages and disadvantages of that particular.
I guess that's what I was looking for, your definition, explaining what I was looking for, so.
If you
It's-
want,
It was not defined in the previous plan, but it was suggested by some commissioners in previous minutes to specify home rule. That's how it was changed for 2020.
Is this where you could add in, explore changing, like what form of government would work best for Oglesby?
this would be the place where we would.
Yeah, that was my thoughts too. I had notes on that, like,
In this case, we'd be better off changing that goal to, or changing the home rule to strike from the government.
Right,
And then the next goal
leave that in there.
would be explore different types of government, if that's what we want.
So Jim is saying, leave explore changing to home rule, scratch out form of government.
Yeah.
Task, investigate the pros and cons of home rule. Lisa, your suggestion is to add a review of the forms of government to see which might be best for the city.
Mhm. Yes.
And I would tweak that to say forms of government or positions. Like when we were talking about, we had those exploring meetings. There's brought up like a city administrator doesn't necessarily need to be a form of government. It could be appointed by the council and they have different rules. So I don't know if that would be a position or.
It's not a change in
Are
government.
you better off to state it as review the current form of government?
No, because I think we'd like to explore all of them. I mean,
Well, if you review the current form, would move you into wanting to explore, you know, if you
Other
identify.
options.
Yeah, so then you're not like tied to,
Determine if it's the best form of government. Is that what you-
Yes, I think that's a
yeah,
good
like
way to
something
say
like
it.
that. Or, and if you did say, like, if you do keep home rule, like, I'd like to see this defined as, and maybe that's what you said comes later, but, you know, like studies specific to Oglesby, I think we learned that that's something very important. And how it would be organized to explore another form or another
What is-
administrative organized.
I don't know if you want to get too specific. I mean, he's got to investigate the pros and cons of home rule.
Yeah.
That's kind of
All encompassing.
all encompassing. I don't think this would be the where you would spell out having, you know, specific things
Details,
like 3
yeah.
meetings or a
Well,
study
I don't
or.
think that, like that kind of detail, but investigate, like, that's kind of a broad term. Is it, like, to what extent is
Determine
it
the
gonna
best form of
be,
government for Oglesby.
you know,
Home rule isn't a form of government.
Right.
We're
it's
past.
gonna be a different, a whole
Home
different
rule is a
goal.
goal of its own with the.
We're passing home rule.
From the county. Now, we're talking
This
about
is suggesting
putting in
that we
another
add
goal.
another
Goal.
task in there. And that is looking at the different forms of government to determine whether or not what we have is the best form, or is there tweaks in the current form of government to improve
Could we-
what we're doing.
Could we say something like evaluate the effectiveness of the form and structure of the current government?
Is that where this actually goes, that what we're talking about now would go underneath public policy though? Would it?
Yeah.
I think so.
I think
Yeah.
that's a good way
Yes.
of.
So we gotta get some language on that.
Mhm.
You understand what we're trying to do?
Understand form of government.
Like,
Please explain it to us.
Come up with a draft of that that you can look at
Okay,
and add it, you can go from there.
right. So, wordsmith that one.
What did you say again?
Evaluate the effectiveness of the form and structure of the current or existing government.
That doesn't leave it open enough to explore a different form.
Yeah,
And that just says, we're doing this one right.
Evaluate the effectiveness.
You're right.
To explore.
You would come to a conclusion one way or the other, and if it's not effective, then you would think the next step would be to,
Right. But it's not.
yeah.
Can you add in there to explore?
Alternatives.
Option-
Alternatives.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, you got that? Kevin? Okay,
Close enough.
Yeah, we'll come up with something.
all right,
And you can kind of add one.
let's move on.
Yeah, moving on.
now is that a task under the
It's
home
a
rules?
goal.
or
I'd say
it's
that's a
goal?
separate goal.
That's what I was thinking,
Yeah.
We'll
okay,
put a goal and task together for that.
okay.
What we just been talking about.
Next goal is expanding or sharing cost of these services with surrounding area communities. The strategy of reviewing the shared cost with the surrounding areas for the services. How's that been going?
I don't know if there's any,
At the time we wrote this, we were looking at kind of the regional police, crime, police station, and all that.
Yep.
That died, because,
That's fun.
yeah, that just went away. So the only thing left, and we may want to consider, is because we have such difficulty getting paramedics and all this stuff, do we want to have a regional ambulance service or something like that? And as far as, you know, fire departments and police departments right now, they assist each other in mutual aid, right? So that's already been addressed. So the only thing I can think of that we would share would be an ambulance service.
Dispatch service.
Well, we already do that.
Already.
Right.
How about garbage?
That's
Is there any reason why the three cities collectively would get a better deal on trash removal versus each one negotiating separately? Can they do that?
What do you
I don't know.
What do you normally see listed there for like goals?
As far as expanding city services, or like what do you mean?
For the shared costs?
Well, I'll be honest, this is my first comprehensive plan I've ever worked on.
But there are groups that do work together on, and we can we'll do some more investigating on whether purchasing materials, salt, asphalt, whatever it might be, to get a better, sometimes it's even insurance, that kind of thing. But we'll find some more information out. The things that open is.
Well, we do have.
Specify what you're looking
Well, we do that. We go through the state of Illinois to purchase vehicles. We go through the state of Illinois to purchase
Salt.
right?
We are part of a cooperative for all types of insurance. I mean, we have some of those things going in
for. I
now.
think it's just saying to continue to do that is, best spend the money.
Should I wait for public comment? I got it. But, for example, what if one of our city vehicles for the street department breaks down? You can call us down and ask. Would that be something that we could keep it in there to develop those relationships?
I don't think we need that level of detail. That's just,
Well, not necessarily getting level, but if you remove it, then we're.
But you might have a contract with them that says in the need of an emergency service of some kind. There would be some cooperative effort.
I'm not sure, just because it's not a goal in here, it's gonna prohibit that from happening anyway.
True, but
and.
So could it just stay like it is?
Street Diamond. There were organizations coming from far and wide to help without having some sort of
Yeah.
pre-planned agreement. And, well, mutual aid probably has plenty.
Yeah, they haven't made this kind of thing.
Right.
Well, let's not get, bogged down in too many details yet, but the goal itself
I think it should stay.
I think it should
Yeah.
stay too.
should stay.
And continue, as long as they're already
Yeah.
doing
The
it.
details can be worked out.
Continue and expand.
All right, hospital, next one, hospitality.
Utilize the hospitality training, getting the minor welcome wagon concept for new residents, working with the IBC Business Institute program, hospitality training and business owners, speaking to and others, and then again, working with IBCC for business employment skill teams, Central Illinois Works, and other pertinent organizations for soft skill training of businesses.
That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
Yes, that's the one.
Do we still have like a welcome wagon? I remember way back when they used to give out
Yeah.
bags. Or bags of
Like
like,
with coupons. And
yeah, and the
cookies
businesses in it and stuff.
Yeah.
It was a while ago.
I definitely would like to see all of those tasks stay. And, for sure create the welcome wagon, new resident, new business.
So are we all in favor of
Yeah,
keeping it?
keeping that,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Moving on. Being known as a community that works well with businesses and develop community and growth for the businesses. Permit and redevelopment processes being streamlined, development, bringing community resilience into discussion for all aspects in the development process. How have you seen growth with that?
Does anybody know what that means?
Resiliency.
I mean, what,
Like the against.
review permit development process. But haven't we done that?
Who doesn't? That's the land development. code.
That's
Yeah.
tough. the review permit, we developed the land development code and it was adopted.
Does that have, you want to remove that?
Yeah, that can be removed.
The task.
Yeah, the test.
I'm not sure what the second task means, to be honest with you.
Community resiliency.
I think it's when you do have an emergency to where there's a tornado, flood, or something like that. There are communities that streamline their whether it's permit process, whatever it is, to get things done in a emergency manner. People back up and running businesses, that kind of thing. There's a way to streamline what you're doing.
That's probably part of that hazard plan that
Right.
Jason put together.
Okay, so if you got something like that, maybe referring to that, plan to utilize that. That's really, I think, what community resiliency you're trying to do.
Is that
Things
something,
back up and operating.
is that something we want to keep in there?
Is the hazard plan that has that been adopted, is that
Yeah.
official?
It exists. I know that.
Well,
I don't know.
I think the council's adopted.
I don't know if I want it to be redundant if it's already been addressed. What?
And I don't know if the hazard plan gets into the level of
Okay.
expediting the permits and stuff like that. You gotta be careful expediting permits. You
Right.
have to do the inspections, make sure that the buildings are safe, whatever infrastructure is safe before you reopen them instead of saying.
Yeah, prioritize, but don't wave a magic wand. kind of
Right.
thing. Yeah.
Do we keep it in?
I think it would serve a purpose to keep it in to say like periodic, review and, again, review and update if needed. I mean, the hazard policy could change as needed.
All right, let's keep it in. Number 3, investigate public transportation needs. Is there anything there that,
I mean, I think NCAT, I would say instead of investigate, I think you maybe work with the agencies
promote
that,
or
Yeah,
that,
some other word besides
support.
investigate?
Yeah.
I think marketing, that is, we don't market it, that it is something available.
You got that bad time, you got a great house in town. Most people don't know that.
Yeah. I think that serves better.
That's true, yeah.
Isn't there another one?
Anything else under that goal?
B part, that's, but I think they come over here. I don't know if they would serve us, like, if we called them, I don't know if they would come
What
here,
about
pick us
adding
up,
a
and could
welcome
drop
wagon
off people, I
for
think.
businesses?
I don't know how,
I think
the
that's
rules
on
work.
there.
Yeah.
That was on there for,
Oh, for
That's in,
residents.
that's in the,
What's that?
Yeah. which doesn't say, would you include businesses in
Good
that then?
businesses in that.
The residents and businesses.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
You got that, Kevin, on the previous one? First task under utilize hospitality training. We'll add businesses there.
okay.
Anything else? Under that one?
Okay, the next strategy is the encouragement of the development of broadband. We're doing
Is that complete?
That's done.
Yep.
Downstairs.
Strike them. Next is the study feasibility of the health care.
They got the strategy in the bed.
Yeah, that'll be like. Moving on to infrastructure. Improve and upgrade the public infrastructure, water, sewer, road, fiber optic, electric, and the community provide the residents of Oakville the best possible services available.
So we have a 10-year capital improvement plan for water, sewer, and wastewater. We really don't have anything for transportation, but that's restricted to funds available. And, we don't get a lot in what we're built at. We do the best we have, can with what we have. So I think, as far as the strategy goes, continue if you want to have something like that.
Just continuing on the capital improvement plan.
Right.
Okay.
The task is actually being taken care of.
Has there ever been, you would know, Jim, has there ever been talk about MPO creation with surrounding communities.
We are, the closest we have is our federal funds are mixed with LaSalle and Peru
Okay.
and somebody else.
Spring Valley or no?
I don't know if we're big enough to be in that given.
Well, I think it's 50,000, and when you start talking LaSalle, Peru, Spring Valley, Oglesby, Utica, you're probably not
Probably
quite there.
35,000 tops.
Yeah.
You have to add on Ottawa.
That's getting,
Yeah, and that's too broad then at that point in time. Okay.
if they're not contiguous, it's kind of tough.
Okay, so are we done with that? Goals?
Yeah, it seems to go hand in hand with the task,
They're gonna stay.
maintaining and updating the CIP.
Continue to actively maintain the plan.
Yep.
Okay, developing the financing mechanisms. You're constantly working
We're
on that.
constantly working on that. We're constantly evaluating what we're doing tax plans for transportation. MAC is constantly trying to get help with the I-39 overpass. We're going after grants with North Central, but can't get the right economic combination of folks to work.
We'll add that, develop financing mechanisms to something else, we'll continue to investigate.
But pretty much all of those items are things that we do on a regular basis anyway.
Exactly.
And we have, I don't know how well we're doing it. MAC is, Danny's still using GIS to update the,
Yeah.
is he? So we are, it's not high tech yet, but we are doing GIS.
The mapping of the utilities.
Utilities, right?
Is there anything else under that area that you want to add?
How do we seek these grants?
Well,
Because there's a lot of them
North
out there.
Central comes up and tells us they're there.
Okay.
It's finding those, it's finding what are your projects, and then finding the grant that will work with it.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Because
there's a ton of grants out there, but they are so niche that they have to fit.
right.
And there's so many you can't look at them all. So it's really finding out what do you want to do, what do you need to do, and we work that way.
Okay.
So I go from that, we hear, an announcement comes out and there's a funding opportunity, hey, this works for you, looking to do, water or sewer line improvement, or whatever it might be.
And the ones we get from the Department of Transportation, reviews and
Yeah.
figures out, no, we don't need the dollar amount, or no, we're not the, whatever
Right.
specific criteria they have.
Because some kind of, these
Do we
grants
have,
that
like,
other
a
towns are getting
grant watch,
are just.
Well, there's so yeah. Somebody out there.
where you can plug your information, or is that what you do? Like, you pull that as needed?
We keep an eye out for the program, we know we hear from the state and federal government, but we don't have a service that we log into and enter every community's information, so that it tells you what it is.
It's not like a
We don't have
lobbying
anything like
service.
that.
I know
We
there
also
are.
have IML has a grant database that you can log into and look at also. That's part of our membership with IML.
I just wonder, would that be a task to add, that we are members of those grant platforms?
Probably the task to add is to hire a grant writing person. or-
That's what I guess that's what I'm getting
Yeah,
at.
that's the other thing.
Long story short is, do we need to have that as a goal? Is to look at a grant writer?
I know that the council's discussed that.
And that would be as needed basis, right? Or that's not like
Consider
a-
the value.
The other thing I know is, I'm not trying to persuade that, but getting the grant is one thing. Once you get it, you have to maintain it and implement it in order so you don't lose it.
Yeah.
And that's part of what we can only do as much as we can do with the staff that we have.
Yeah.
So we
Get
do
your
find
back
grants
on
that
that.
work. We know what we do. We're always looking to investigate new ones. If you hear about a program, we're out to tell us about it, we'll look into it. But it's, people say it's grant writing, well, it's grant writing and administration. It takes a lot more time on the back end.
Yeah.
Because that's, while your grant writing is gonna take you, you may have 60 days to put it in, maybe you've got 4 to 6 months to develop it, put it in. it's gonna take 2 to 3, maybe 4 years on the implementation side to have somebody take care of it.
So like, I know with Mirror Oglesby, like I'm signed up to get the notifications from IDOT, I'm signed up for grantwatch.com, and then there's another one that's specifically to Illinois. So like, I put in like our needs and desires, and it alerts me to grant opportunities, and so I just wonder if that's worth building in here to maintain that type of.
I believe like
platform.
the IDOT one, Chamlins and Associates typically alerts us to anything that we might have a project for.
Which is good, I guess I don't wanna feel like the city's at the mercy of being notified. I don't wanna be more proactive, is that the word, like, that we have, like, we're not at the mercy of waiting for NCICG
For
or
instance, if you
Chamber.
put Becky in charge of that, she wouldn't necessarily know all the tasks that we work with MAC on, I mean, the grants.
Right. Who's
Yeah.
gonna be that person?
You need the people tied to doing the work.
Yeah,
They're already in the know for the grants available. I guess that's what, the structure is in place. We just have to continue that.
Yeah.
right, but is a grant writer a full-time employee?
I would think so.
Probably not.
Okay, so exactly, so if they're not, we have to, I feel like we still need to have a more efficient way of,
So the city approved a $3 million grant,
yeah,
Tri-County funding, for their bridge that's coming over 251. Chamberlain and Associates helped them write that grant. The city engineer contacted us.
How did you know it was available?
We get the notice of funding from the state of Illinois.
The city engineer gets, or, city engineer or consultants for the city have that coming in. And NCICG does as well.
When we get those, we send out a constant contact to all of our contacts for the communities in the region and say, hey, we got 2 of them coming up, we'll be sending out this next week.
So that's
For
in
outside
place.
parks and for safe routes to schools.
And then
So-
If you're interested, then you call us and we'll be happy to do that. But I know that's only a couple of grants. that
that's
do.
what I mean,
We
you're
probably do.
choosing.
Right, because we see the need of what the communities have in the area, and we do those programs, but we're always willing to look into a different program. If there's something that comes up that the city needs, and there's a grant for it, give us a call, we'll look into it.
I guess my thought is, I know like I'm in receipt of grants available that I would have never thought of, because I scanned the whole list. And it triggers me, like we received a Google Workspace grant, I know that's minimal compared to infrastructure, but I would have never known that was even something to.
Right, and the Google
Explore.
Workspace is something that we wouldn't probably write
Right.
for you, because it's not worth spending the time or money on us, to write for, I don't know how much the grant is, but when they're smaller, it's just the communities, a lot of communities that we work with write their own grants on that kind of thing.
Yeah,
We
so
don't-
that's
I
what I'm saying,
kinda-
like, why would we limit
I think she's
The
just talking
information.
about the limitations, not that you'd have to
All right,
have
you're
somebody
getting bogged down
write a
with
small one.
Details here that I think
But-
could be, handled in one statement of some kind, rather than all the specific details, all of this works. So is there a statement of some kind that would say, keep an eye out for all grants?
That's essentially what the.
It is a task in there already.
That's what it says.
Yeah. So I think that's in there. It's just a matter of how you want it.
Okay, so that'll be more detailed later.
Let's stay right in there like that. Unless we change
We're-
it.
I don't think our job with this plan is to get into the nuts and bolts of how to do everything step by step.
That's their job.
That's the council.
And they have to do that with the staffing they have available to complete those tasks.
Or come up with a plan.
Or come up with a plan to do something else.
Okay,
So again, I don't want to get bogged down with too many details, because we're supposed to be skimming the surface of all this. So, okay, is there anything else under this strategy and on the tasks? We got the CIP, we're involved with the road construction, all those projects. Engineering contracts are under review all the time, I presume. And comprehensive planning, that's all done. So I think we're pretty much done with the that particular strategy. How about the next one?
Providing necessary public utilities and infrastructure to the west side of Interstate 39 for business attention and development.
It's been pretty well done, isn't it?
No,
What's missing?
it's very lacking. We have businesses come in all the time, and we can't provide them enough sewer, we can't provide them
We don't
enough
have.
water. Right, so what we discussed, just to give you an idea, we discussed, we need a well on the west side of town, we may need a water tower on the west side of town. And we may need those things, you know, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Or at least have a plan in place so that when people come, we say, yep, we've got a plan for water towers coming in right here, you help us fund it with TIP funds, we're good to go type of thing. So,
Well, how do we say that, Jim?
Plan for and provide. So, I mean, part of it, you gotta plan for.
we got a plan for it, right.
To develop a plan to provide utilities.
I think you leave it, I think you leave it as plan for and provide. I mean, that should be the goal, is to provide those things.
Correct.
I mean, those,
Right, and there are things transportation wise that people don't know, that whole west side. You know, there's only one way in and out of that GTI Loves complex, right? And we need another road, but we have to get the park transportation to bless that because Route 251 is a freeway. And its access is prohibited without, God bless you, my son from the state of Illinois. So,
Well,
that planning needs to be taken care of and get that established so that when people come and say, oh yeah, we got preliminary approval by dot for X on 251.
So could you just make the first task extend city
are we done with the
utilities?
electrical? Are we okay with electrical west of 39? Or is there something else that has to be done?
Well, the electrical, we have the substation expansion going on. It's almost, it's close to complete, right, Rich?
This is for two IVCC, it says.
Yeah, we'll provide necessary public utility infrastructure to the west side of Interstate 39. So that's,
We got that, right?
Task is just the,
We don't need that, do we?
Well, I was thinking they meant the whole area to IVCC,
I
not
thought
just
that too.
specific.
Do we need any more electrical extensions out to IVCC?
Well,
Except if some business comes in and wants to dig a load of some kind, you know, you work with them on that.
can we update it to say city utilities since Jim would like to see
Well, that
sewer and
was-
water?
well, we had,
Take out electric and put.
Yeah, my whole point was, I think the electrical is pretty well taken care of, and that it's gotta be an overall big plan for everything.
That's why I'm suggesting city
Yeah.
utilities,
we have
just
a-
making it,
It would be assess current capacity
It's a second
of
one.
infrastructure and plan for
Potential.
okay,
potential business attraction.
so remove the first task.
Yeah, get rid of the first one.
I think it's a little bit redundant,
Yeah.
you know.
And just make that second one assess and plan.
Okay.
Well, sorted on that. Anything else?
I think we're done with that one.
Okay. Moving on to improve, upgrade, and create community facilities structure to provide the residents of Oglesby the best services available. I feel like we were kind of already talking about that a little bit with the last one.
a strategy about current police department, well, current police department facilities. You want to speak to that, Phil?
There's some improvements that need to be made there.
So we should leave it as a strategy then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure on jail options. Do you know, was it just because we have to take them all the way to improve the current jail holding?
Well-
Or because we have to take them all the way to
Again,
Ottawa?
this was back when we were talking about the regional police station where everybody was gonna take
Yeah.
their prisoners to Peru or Sal, wherever it is now. So I don't know about the task, whether it still needs to remain.
Or do we broaden the task? But I mean, the strategy is the task.
Right, the strategy is
Yeah,
that.
so without the task, I think you just leave the strategy.
Agreed.
That's, I mean,
So you want to continually assess it anyway, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, it should be in
Strategy stated.
there. And the jail
Yeah.
options, I messed out. which strategy is that currently? Should that be true for both the police and the ambulance?
One second for the next. I mean, if we're looking at eventually combining.
How about get rid of police departments and emergency services facilities? That way, you've got fire department,
Right.
ambulance, and police all lumped together.
So it's still emergency response,
Emergency services facilities.
emergency service facilities. Should be
I think just
continued.
emergency services.
Okay,
Moving on, preserving the historically significant facilities, like upgrading the Dickinson House or finding an alternate use to the old firehouse.
Upgrading the King Dickinson House, we continue to do that, we just did a ADA bathroom in it. We put new roofs on it, I think in those last 5 years.
Figure that will stay then.
Yeah, we want to continue to upgrade and maintain it, we still have the whole pool area to fix.
Still in the works. And then
what about
the-
the firehouse?
It's been used by electrical and, city departments, isn't it? The old firehouse.
Yeah, you guys might know, have knowledge on this. I was asked by a constituent why the firehouse was still up, that it was deemed unsafe in order to build a new fire department. Someone asked why, if it was unsafe then, it can be utilized now.
Well, they couldn't house all the equipment they wanted in that building. Plus, it wasn't very accessible to get out of there the way it's located there in the residential area. And that's why the decision to build a new building down there was made. And the building's pretty old.
And there's safety concerns at the level of it's occupied by lots of people doing training and stuff like that, versus it's occupied by a guy going in, pulling a pickup truck and leaving. So that level of safety, we're probably okay for, but having half a dozen people in it trying to do training, probably not, so.
The park department still uses it, right?
So to remove that tab?
Yeah.
I would say
See,
remove
we
it.
found the use
Also,
for
a
it.
street department, isn't it?
Yeah, so yeah, get rid of
Yeah,
that.
they all
No.
store equipment in there.
At one time, we were considering putting bocce ball or something like that.
What's
Nobody wants-
Basketball for a while, yeah.
Until everybody got too old to play. So do we want to find an alternate to be used for the old firehouse?
I just removed the
I think
task.
they already did.
We've already found the,
that, yeah. There was a suggestion at what time to make it into the Oglesby Historical Museum, which is the next strategy. But that building would require too much to be done to it.
Yeah, I think so.
Plus
Right.
parking is a problem there, for any public type thing. you know. We still want to think about the possibility of an Oglesby Historical Museum of some kind. There are communities in the area that have been very successful with theirs. Tuscaloosa has a very, very successful city historical museum and historical society. Spring Valley has a pretty nice deal downtown. We don't have anything that preserves the past of Oglesby.
do we have a group of people that are willing to do that work?
Well, that's the problem. You know, the Oglesby Historical Society was housed in the library for quite a long time. And all that detail that they had, all the old pictures and publications and everything else stored down at the library. The Historical Society disbanded. In fact, the last thing we did was the centennial book, Oglesby, our hometown. And after that, the people again started getting too old to be active. But it would be nice to have a historical society. But I think you can always leave that in as the possibility of creating.
I agree.
Is it realistically a city responsibility or an endeavor that the
Right.
city our size can take on?
No, it's
If they can in Tuscaloosa, I mean,
Utica,
My guess is it's not the city doing it though.
LaSalle
Yeah,
County
there's
Historical
LaSalle
Society, if it's LaSalle County, like, can municipality, like, is there maybe something you can work with them to get the good area of Humboldt State? I mean, I know it's not located here, but to preserve more history, I mean,
Well, let's just not get bogged down with detail. Do we want to have an historical museum in the city? Is that something the city would like to see pursued? If not, we'll keep.
Can we leave it in there? Leave it in there.
They had society, yeah.
We can throw it out
And
there.
obviously historical
I would think
society.
that's where you start first,
Well,
before,
Yeah, right.
but is that a city
Jumping into
function?
this.
Is that even a city initiative?
That's what you just said.
The city would support it, but
Yeah, but it's not city driven.
So you won't create it.
we don't think that should be part of the.
I just
We are
think it
almost
should be
there.
taken
We
out.
don't do
Yeah.
that.
I don't think it's a city initiative at this point in time. Unless the historical society is formed, it has interest in finding space, and then at that point in time becomes a potential city.
Unless the city wanted to buy a buildings downtown.
Right.
And say, here, we're looking for somebody to take care of it. How about
Right.
a museum?
So are you thinking about doing that part?
Just remove it, the entire strategy.
Okay.
Moving on to Parks and Rec here, we have creating a more activity-oriented places for residents and visitors of Old Week, with creation of a Parks and Rec plan. Exploring funding options for grant programs. We've done that a little bit, but it's been going.
There's a couple of tasks that are probably complete on here.
Okay, is that first task, assess each park and identify needs, has that been done?
I'm not sure if that's been done.
Rich, you got any feel for that?
We kind of get a grant,
But that's for something,
for lead part. As far as the other ones.
so it's a continuous
It's an
thing, anyway.
ongoing thing all the time.
Yeah.
The first task is.
Yeah,
So just leave it in there. We did,
second one's done.
Second was,
Or
No.
That's talking
West side.
further west, yeah.
on the
Oh,
west
you're
side,
talking
we
about
can't
further
get into
west.
the bedroom.
okay,
Lake from the west side. And that's where you could put a nice parking lot and have some access from that west side.
okay.
And the residents will put up new, even more parking.
It should-
Especially when the Elks is throwing a big party. Always encouraging.
So I think we keep that in there. I would add the west side of West Big Bedroom.
It does say
It
that.
does.
It says
Oh, there
west
it
side.
is. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And also the next task of continuing with the Seneca Square.
Yes.
Is there, okay.
Leave that
Okay,
in
so
there.
that stays in too, right?
All right.
Any
Strategy.
other tasks you want to add?
Yeah,
Any other specific tasks?
we are taking recommendations.
So as far as our land development code requires set aside for parks and stuff like that, so we kind of got that kind of stuff taken care of, so.
Well, I have a question. If it can be individual, so when they were doing like the grant for Lehigh Park, my thought was the tennis court part for kids is very, very outdated.
Yeah.
And as a parent, if I had children, depending on their ages, I don't know if I'd want them going all the way down to Lehigh Park to have the most updated, play equipment. I'd like to see some things done in the little neighborhood parks.
Well, that's task number one.
Oh, they said, but if you wanted to individualize it, like if you wanted something specific, and I think the smaller parks are kind of important for the neighborhoods.
So we looked at tennis court improvements and basketball court improvements and some just new stuff down Courtyard Park, right? So that's part of that whole thing, so
Is there any plan?
it's already,
Is there any plan for
considered.
improvement that is?
we applied for grants. Right.
I know that the residents across the highway, across 251, that there are several there that have approached the city and expressed an interest in having a park there,
That would be great.
because there isn't one.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's all
Wait,
part,
that's
that's all part of the
there.
task, assess each part.
Well,
Well,
it's
that's
not a
not-
park
there's
at
not a
this point.
park.
There
So
is.
there would be, I would say that would be another separate task.
Identify areas for further development.
There you go, that's good.
Parks, what, on the western portion of the city.
To the west side.
That's your park area.
So
Or
for
somewhere
instance,
else, you never know.
Or,
Yeah,
yeah, anywhere else.
Or even south.
West side.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, don't narrow it down to the west side. It could be other places.
Creekside,
Yeah.
There's one down in Little.
Creekside's where you got an area designated.
it has an area designated, but the park hasn't been put in it.
That's task number one, it's task to be. So there's a park area there.
How does that work with, don't developers of subdivisions have responsibilities for that?
They don't need to know.
They don't.
They
So
don't
the-
need to.
Yeah, they don't build.
We asked
Right,
for
but we
donation
can't.
10% of the land.
So the ones on the west side of town were exempt from that requirement. Whatever.
Yeah, why was that?
Deal they must have struck to
Yeah.
get.
So how
the-
come we
We'll
don't
build
like
this, but we ain't
develop
doing
the west
anything,
side
yeah.
with more parks if they didn't donate the land?
Because we approached the developers, lot owners, because
And make them do it?
there's dozens of empty lots there. May or may, how quickly they develop, maybe the city says, hey, we want lots 15 and 16, so we can build a park.
Or the ones that are adjacent to the federal.
But she's
Or
saying,
or ones
but
that
she's saying
Right.
like past dependence.
as far as
on that
north,
area.
you got the river, south, you got Lucy, east, you got Vermillion, so all you got is west.
Okay, just to help me understand this, I don't mean to take much time, but how can these tasks be in there when, like, we don't know if our Parks Department has enough employees to take on another park? Like, how can,
So then,
so that's part of the
Well, that's part of
assess, right?
assessing the needs.
So that's where I get confused, forgive me. So if the need for park was gonna come up, it would have to come to the plan commission because we create this document? No,
This is,
I'm just
this is the
trying to
guy, this is a
understand.
vision for the city
right,
that we're developing, that then we basically turn over to the council to implement.
Yeah.
Review and
Yeah.
implement.
Yeah.
Come up, is it a good idea, is it not? If
I
it is a
just
good
don't know
idea,
how.
And they have to look,
They should add.
how are we gonna pay for it?
Right, they look at all those things.
Right?
the city looks at the resources that are available
Yeah,
and decides whether or not they can
Act upon
can
it.
do that.
Yeah.
what we talk about, what Dave brought up is, there are no parks on the west side of town. And that, all those residents out there would sure like to have a park, even if it just consists of a basketball court or pieces of some.
You can playground equipment or
Playground.
whatever, yeah.
So there's a need out there for a park, because there's no sidewalks, there's no bike trails, they can't get to Court Park, they can't get to the, they can't get to Lehigh, they can't get.
Real park would be.
So Angie, the first task to me speaks to the parks we currently have.
Parks, yeah.
So that's why I'm saying either we amend that one to include that parks that explore new park locations or whatever, or we put that as a separate task.
My suggestion would be make it a separate one.
I would think so too, but yeah.
Make it a separate one to
Make it a different task.
assess the need for additional parks.
Yes.
In underserved areas.
Yes.
There you go.
There you go.
Not necessarily the
that.
west end, it could be anywhere.
Okay? Got that, Kevin?
Yeah.
All right, down to the next strategy then.
Develop paths and trails for walking, biking, and other recreational opportunities.
So the city has applied for grants, investigated applying for grants, done preliminary layouts and routes for sidewalks and stuff like that. And they haven't found anything to hit a home run. They are looking at those kind of things. For instance, on the north side of Walnut Street at Eureka Bank, because of the bank parking lot, you can't get a sidewalk. You
Yes.
can't get it across there. So we're limited to the south side. We go across the south side. Now you're into property owned by the mobile home park. You've got the lift station. So there's all sorts of things we're trying.
we're looking at a 39 pass.
That's a $4 million plus project.
Well, I got another one. Is the has anybody talked to? Is Boozy, who owns the railroad line that crosses the river?
Oops.
Has it? I mean, it's used like what, once a week?
No,
They-
they use it continuously from January, February, and March.
Okay.
Ship in cement and stockpile it at their plant and truck it out.
I'm just thinking of when the park expands. You have a pretty big opportunity to have bike trails, kind of going from I&M Canal, Starve Rock area, and include our town, which would bring a lot of traffic.
And I can imagine thinking about that, in the olden days, back in the 20s, Deer Park Glen was a destination. There was a hotel down there, there was a general store down there, the railroad came in, people came in, they got off the train, they walked across the swing bridge, and they went to Deer Park. Now, that whole thing could be developed as a path. That whole area.
So IENR has their vision.
Yeah.
in that area. It doesn't include anything across the street.
Right. No, I agree. I understand that. It doesn't include that, but we have the I&M Canal that has a lot of bike traffic on it. And then that runs to Utica, and Utica has the path that crosses the river now. And so, to complete that circuit, it would be,
And there was a plan, Chairman had drawn up, and relied on LaSalle County doing something somewhere else. LaSalle County, not in
Yeah.
So our path would have been a path to win.
sure.
So until we get that cooperation,
Are you,
other
are you trying to say to like connect I&M to the new expansion? Like put that as a task?
Yeah, I just happen to think there's a railroad bridge there that's existing, and I didn't realize it was that used, but yeah.
I think the overall goal here is to try to take advantage of the parks.
Sure.
Somehow,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
somehow tie in either walking paths or bike paths or something like that.
I didn't need to,
You gotta dream a little bit about
Yeah.
crossing that river,
Yeah.
I guess the point I was trying to make was, we are trying to use paths, we've been
Yeah.
trying to use paths, we've been unsuccessful.
Do we
Should
have
continue.
Do we have a comprehensive bike path or bike plan at the city? Like-
Gosh, probably 10 years ago, there was an effort coordinated by the county to create a bike path that went through Starve Rock from Ottawa, through
Yeah.
our community. The city invested in our portion of it, having it designed and ready to go, but then I'm not sure exactly what happened. It just died.
I just know when we come in, state comes in to build projects, we're looking, for like shared use paths and things like that. We're looking for the cities to have, on paper, a comprehensive bike path, for instance, so that we know they already have a plan developed and that we can tie into that with,
We have a plan.
instead of building sidewalks that go to nowhere and will never go anywhere, those kind of things. And I just didn't know.
was a plan.
Well, we want
Their
to,
concept,
we want to somehow put language in there that we want this to be discussed and
I
put
think,
the plan.
I think the language is
If
there.
the language is there,
Yeah.
and
Well, isn't number task one, or first task done? I mean, wouldn't that road going down to the boat launch be considered connecting, and now with the disc golf going to
yeah,
that?
that first task is done.
No, because we're talking about
Driveway, but
walking.
it's not a pedestrian.
You
You
don't
don't want people walking.
You can walk.
Is there a path through the woods there? I thought there was a path that goes through, I haven't
There's
used it.
stairs too.
Well, there's stairs just off a little, and they're part of the golf, frisbee golf. But those stairs need a lot of work. And Rich and I walked it, 3 months ago? And any kind of path, we made our own path to try to get to the lane. It was
Okay,
work.
rough.
Oh, okay.
And anything we build would probably have to be ADA compliant. We don't stand a chance getting anything ADA compliant for that terrain. So
This is on the west side of the park?
Unless you take up the entire
Well,
green ones.
there's the north side, trying to get down to the,
Yeah, I put it on the west side, the part coming down from the west side,
kind of the middle.
Little Blue Park. I was thinking more like where, where the disc golf is on the west side.
Right.
A path from there down to the boat launch.
That's
That's
where we
what-
walk.
Yeah,
And you're saying that
That terrain is not compatible with ADA.
So one thing that I would like to maybe add is a walking path down over Vermillion.
That's the South County Highway, we have to do it. Their permission to do that.
Because the amount of people that are constantly jogging on that road and walking it, and also it's my understanding that when state expansion comes, that that also will connect us, to Utica better, because isn't there something happening on the other side of 71 as well, eventually?
Yeah.
Going to Utica, so then that would help connect that for pedestrian, walking, biking, all of that.
Well, you don't want,
You said the dream, Jen.
the task here is to
it's
try
out,
to,
it's out, for this one. You're outside the city limits.
Okay, so that wouldn't fall, so there would be no like coordinating it. Okay.
we're getting down to a lot
Fair
of
enough.
details. So the task should be to try to develop the best bicycle and walking paths that we can to connect with Starbrook, so the I&M Canal, the whole thing.
Okay.
Some kind of a comprehensive plan that would, make some kind of sense.
do we want to, just some wording on the last task there, work with Illinois or IDNR, development of the recently acquired park property? Do we want to say Matheson expansion or something more? This is going to be around for 10 more years. It's not going to be so recent kind of thing.
Yeah, we should change that to the required
Matheson expansion.
But what about the property, what about the quarry?
That's considered the Matheson
Is
expansion.
that part of that 2,500?
Yeah.
And the city has been working with them, looking at providing them electric and sewer, maybe water.
Where is Julie still electric?
So,
Okay,
so it already happened.
so is there anything you want to take out of there? Rails to Trails doesn't exist anymore, does it? Becky,
There's actually another name for it. Should I look it up?
All right, let's change that to whatever name it is right now. Okay, moving on. I don't want to go beyond, I said 2 hours originally, but let's just plan to decide how long we want to continue. So,
Moving on, maintaining and developing existing park spaces.
Isn't that already kind of in
Yeah.
the first strat?
We have
Yeah.
them.
The first task in the first strategy kind of says that. And then we already did the dog park, so take all that.
Creating water
The next
features.
page, you got that.
Oh, shoot.
We have more.
I got a few more.
Should all be on the same one.
Water
right?
feature at the pool.
Multiplex facility for regional.
I don't know if
I mean, that
I don't know
should
if that-
still be under the first goal or first strategy, right? I don't know.
One is for big funding for available.
Okay. So this may be the, I don't want to go backwards, but this may be the where you put in
So
the,
we didn't leave in maintain develop. Well, let's say, get rid of the word existing, right? So we're maintain existing, obviously, but make it develop.
develop.
And
And this is where we put in those, maybe the,
in these tabs we have.
well, what about the first thing we talked about on the west side, Developing new park spaces.
This is existing and assess what, the next one is acquiring
New and existing.
new and
These are all
existing
kinda
land
run
for active
together.
and passive.
Yeah, they're all like kind
Very
of saying the
last
same thing.
So that,
So you heard us fix that.
okay, good. Do we want this water
Right.
feature in the pool to be something that we think is practical?
I think we probably need to develop a plan for the pool, like,
We need to just make sure we keep the pool going.
that's what I'm saying is like a plan to either
Probably worry about
maintain
water feature, yeah.
or replace or whatever it is it's gonna take.
Most recently approved, was discussed providing $5,000 to $10,000 a year for pool maintenance.
Okay.
We did that last council meeting, they were council meeting before. But in the last 60 days for sure.
So I have this task marked as kind of done, because it does say or at another location, and I consider Seneca Square Fountain a water feature that they did create after this, so I would consider that one done unless you want to specify the municipal pool to have one as well.
Were you thinking like a splash pad or something?
Yeah,
Is that-
wasn't there some
I was
discussion
gonna
about that,
say-
Austin, about when we were discussing the pool maintenance requirements, that
Or something like that.
a splash pad or some kind of fountain for the kids to play in at the pool?
I don't remember talking about
It seems to me, I remember.
I don't think we sitting on.
Did you hear it, Jim?
I think so.
I think so too.
I might have zoned out.
So the water
Everybody
feature,
parked
they're not
Those
talking
are
about a
two words
fountain
you
like
should
the
Yeah,
Seneca
so can we
Square.
clean
They're
up
talking
that?
about
Be splash
Yeah.
pad.
stuff.
So can we
Yeah.
call it a splash pad instead of a water feature?
Something
Just
to
a,
play in.
just a,
Yeah, that might help. because
Yeah,
To me,
so-
I think the fountain is a water feature.
Interactive water.
That's a disaster waiting to happen.
I get in verbiage. Yeah.
Good verbiage. So which task are we on? now?
Second one, or second one on the
Multiplex
second sheet,
facility.
multiplex.
Original attractions.
At that time, Mr. Finley was there, I think, or had been, and he was very interested in some sort of sports complex on the west side of town along Lewis Avenue.
That would be nice.
It was just about barbed wire. That's all
But
right.
City of Peru has also now developed plans for
Yeah.
a multiplex.
And you
area.
saw that plan, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is
It's elaborate.
really, it's almost like the Burnham plan for Chicago.
Yeah.
So are we keeping that, or should we get rid of that? I mean, it kind of seems.
Hey, we're dreaming, okay, and
I don't think you should
I
take,
don't know that
I
we
don't think
could
you
get
should
through
take it
one.
out based on,
Well,
It'd be great if we got it instead of Rue, right? So,
well,
the city, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, but the city was approached by somebody wanting to develop something from that west side. And the mayor and some other folks met with them to discuss it. So the city approved maybe doing their thing, but somebody else may want to come in and privately do something.
Mhm.
So
right.
I think we should leave it in.
Leave it in then.
yeah,
With it.
I would agree.
It's not gonna hurt, it might help. Develop the area with the shelter. Does that make any sense?
Yes, it makes sense, it needs to be done.
Okay, leave it. Inventory equipment and assess safety. I don't know exactly what that means.
That's a long-range goal.
Don't you do that every day?
I think it'd probably come out. And it fits better under the first strategy anyway, with the
Yeah.
existing parks.
Yeah.
Even the municipal swimming pool with the shelter is an existing park, but whatever. I want to go backwards.
I don't know, I guess, just real quick, I guess the way I take that is like when you're doing the inventory equipment is like stuff that you would rent out and like, I feel like it could be worded differently so that,
I think at the time we did it, we talked about the actual equipment. You know,
for.
The playground
Playground
equipment,
stuff.
yeah.
Which is-
That kind of stuff.
the-
Okay, okay.
Maintenance equipment.
Where we can do that, right?
Yeah, that's what I had.
I think that should
Maybe
stay.
reword that equipment.
But you should be doing that anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, there's regulations that cover the safety and all of that stuff already. Okay,
Yeah, we'll keep those tasks then. Moving on to the next goal, acquiring new land and utilizing the existing land for active and passive recreation.
that's what we have, that we talked about earlier. If you can incorporate that somehow into the language, in the space, you put down the identifying new park areas. We either keep it separate or we stick it into that.
I think probably we do this goal.
I just think that like there needs to be like basically two strategies, like the maintaining and keeping up on our existing parks, and then identifying new spaces, new paths. And there's basically just two strategies here, and then you list tasks and combine them all, kind of clean up this whole section.
Yeah.
And it all kind of starts to.
It all blends together. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, parks.
Require new and utilize existing land for active and passive recreation.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And the tasks of the community of plans for parks, development and studying the old landfill for prairie restoration areas.
Knowing what I know, Rich can jump in here any time, but I think that second task needs to be eliminated because we, time after time, we found sinkholes. It's just not safe for anybody out there, barely for our employees to be out there. Taking those routes, so that needs to go away. Anyway.
Oh, the landfill one?
Pardon?
The landfill one?
Yeah.
Eighteen sands that used to get lost with the D9, with the sinkhole, and you go right down. And street, the electric department truck, they have to go and pull them off. Empty truck down there. But anyway, I don't want to dwell on the
That was a good story.
Okay, do we want to cut this off at 7:30? Do we want to continue?
Are you keeping the native plantings in park?
We're there right now.
The tasks that
Yeah.
include native.
I think that can be a task in, when they reorganize everything, just kind of put that as a task. We can comment on it, yeah.
And the landfill comes out, or do we continue to look to see if there's anything we can do?
Prairie restoration.
It's
you just
prairie,
plant grass and
it's
let it
not
grow,
saying a
right?
park, it's saying for potential prairie restoration. That's still a viable option. It kind of is a prairie restoration,
you just-
isn't
you just let
it?
it grow, right?
We can go sprinkle some prairie
How about
seeds.
some kind of an idea, like the sunflowers out of Madison Park?
But then you're gonna attract people out there,
There's gotta be
and you don't
something
want
like
that.
You don't want anything that's gonna attract people
Yeah.
to go in.
Not in there, but just see.
They'll go in there. They'll go in there.
Promise, yeah.
They will. They'll cut them down.
Anyway, just.
We don't
Too bad
have
they-
to put anything there that's gonna attract people.
Yeah.
I mean, I think still just keeping it as a prairie restoration.
Well, I
still
think you
is a
could
good
plant them
idea.
over
And
on the
people
west
know
side
that.
of McFedrin,
Sunflowers?
sunflowers.
Yeah, that would be kind of, yeah, I like that idea.
Hmm.
That was a great idea.
I'd like to
Bring
see
bring
a
your
line-
hoe next time and your
I'd
shovel
like
and
to
your.
see a line of low, blossoming trees right underneath the power lines, right in front of the old landfill. So when you come up and get some nice blossom, apple blossoms or something. That
It'd
way
be
you
kind
walk
of cool to have a prairie restoration area, just not there.
That's underneath the power lines. And there's not nice trees underneath the power
Oh.
lines.
Yeah. Won't be in our lifetimes, but they'll butcher them eventually.
Yeah, right.
How about we plant them on our property?
They still won't, if they're gonna tangle in their lines, that's.
We'll mow 'em down.
So we feel good about keeping these two tasks in, or are we getting rid of the prairie?
I'd like to do the second, and the second.
I already crossed out the second one.
There you go.
Can I make one more suggestion? That I think this is something that Rich wants to see done is to look into ways to create more parking spaces for our parks, especially Lehigh. Right, I know that Rich has been trying to come up with a plan for more parking. And I think it probably really is important to be in here.
Isn't that in there?
Yeah, but it's a task, expand parking.
Maintain and develop existing parking.
Park
Yeah.
space,
Yeah.
park space, not parking.
Well, we should make it parking space.
I thought there was
spaces,
somewhere it said.
I thought
we
I saw
needed
that
more-
too
yeah.
somewhere.
It might be in a different part, but
It's on 26.
Well, we
at the
want to
bottom.
make sure we include a continual look at
It's
developing more parking space down there in the park. You know, we could have more functions where people could be, didn't have to park over at the old cement mill.
Okay. Moving on then to the next strategy is just regional park development, being a participant in planning a new IDNR park plan.
So it's okay to leave that one?
For me, it's enough of a focus.
You'd say that they're trying very hard to be part of that planning,
Okay.
and IDNR is holding an arm's length. Except really need something from us. So, we're participating, but
Shot me.
not really, that's about it. Right? Yeah.
what that looked for you guys, moving on to tourism. Participating with other marketing organizations or outlets. This kind of brings us back to the policy, talking with about, Starbrook and everything.
Kind of a duplicate of some of the things we talked about earlier.
But it's a different topic.
I know, I know. But I think they kind of blend.
Just whether or not you want to keep all those tasks still there.
I think all three tasks I probably think we want to continue to do some.
Then moving on to the actively participating in the Illinois River Road Scenic Byway.
Which you said is no longer, is that no longer a thing?
No, it is actually, the council voted to approve our joining that last fall, and right now we're in the process of working on creating a video that'll be played on their website, and we're working with them to market our events.
So it's being done.
Mhm.
So keep it,
Keep it on there.
Yeah.
so it continues that.
Yep.
Seems like the tasks are also being still going on there. So it's still good. Encouraging hotel, lodging development, restaurants. Advertising materials to Steel Main City, working with local organizations to develop new and improve existing festivals, activities from the tourists.
So we always be doing a lot of those things. City will always be continuing to do the every 4 or 5 day events to bring people in the community. So, and I think whenever somebody reaches out about big restaurants and stuff like that, we get right on it and give them access and put them in contact with who owns the land. Give us a new restaurant.
Is there anything we want to add to that?
Anything you want to add, take away?
Feasibility of traditional overnight facility. That's more of a, it's not a city thing, right?
That's it. You're not building it.
Right.
They're coming in and asking you.
That's days in,
Yeah.
that's Western, that's.
Yeah.
What you'd like to do is provide the need for additional.
Right, be providing the data to know whether your traffic counts, we got come through, so then when they come ask you for information or see.
Yeah.
Sites, you've already got it, you've got.
Okay, so it's having the data prepared.
What we have for something like that is Plan Commission has their zoning map that allows those types of things. Other than that, you can just drive in and see.
Well, we
And
have
there's
worked with a developer in the past. We did reach out to a hotel developer probably about 6 or 7 years ago, and they actually, we worked with them. They did a study, just a very preliminary study to see if it would be a new hotel would be supported in the area. And at that time, the numbers didn't look good enough to them. But, there's always that possibility that if we had a bunch of money lying around, we could do another study again.
Well, how much is the feasibility study like that? If you can come up and have that, and you can market that.
And what-
We got so much, interest in the area.
And when do you do that? I'm talking about when the park is expanded and there's a canoe launch and there's an ATV park or whatever they're talking. Do you wait for those to be pretty firm? And then you put those in the study? I would say you'd wait till those details firm up a little bit.
Well, maybe we could add it as a task to,
Yeah.
at some point,
Yeah.
have a study done.
And part of that is being involved with the planning with DNR.
Right.
On when they're going to be doing things.
Right. Getting a timeline and
Right now, we have all the different things cited. Not gonna move much.
Yeah.
When they're gonna do it. They've got an idea of what the plan is, right? That's certain things,
do they have funding
like for some of them, yeah.
for those?
What's that? They've got funding. Some.
Is it anything we want to add or subtract? No?
Keeping it in.
Okay.
Encouraging development, tourism, associated amenities. For location campgrounds, reviewing towards implementing recommendations from the Roger Brooks study.
What is the Roger Brooks study?
The city had a group come in and evaluate the whole community and did, what, a 2-day presentation at IVCC or something like that, at least a 1 day for sure. And, you know, gave us ideas, right? Now, some of it didn't make sense, they didn't like all the signage we had for Star Rock, right? Going out there, they said, you got too many signs to stay on the trail, stay on the trail, stay on the trail. Well, we all know, we had 400 signs, people go off the trail.
Yeah.
So, but they had some good ideas too. They had ideas like syllabus correction.
It's actually available on YouTube.
Is
Like
it?
there's 3 or 4 different parts. It was a very interesting study and a great experience for our community, I thought.
Where one of them was at Solstice, too, on reviewing, like the same thing.
I think that Cabo showed some of his, not specific to Oglesby, but he has other branding things that are available to anybody to view. But this was specific to our community, spent a week in our community, and then presented some ideas.
What they did out for college.
So that task probably still is a viable task. Go back and look at that and see what they recommend.
Yeah.
For sure.
As far as campgrounds, IDR is going to build all the campgrounds out
Yeah.
there. We really don't
Not really
have-
all that feasible. Yeah. But if they're not providing RV parking or something like that, then maybe that's an avenue where we can get, you know,
So we're taking out that first one?
Well,
I would say leave it in because you don't know what amenities they're going to provide that, or they're not going to provide that we possibly could tap into.
I agree.
Okay, moving on.
We got a housing,
Yeah.
we got housing, we can cut it right there.
Let's go through housing and then we'll.
Just one page.
Is that just about halfway through the number?
Yeah. We are more than happy to.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Housing, encouraging sustainable growth, and quality housing to meet the needs of current youth residences. Identifying the housing growth for, or the needs for growth in the community. Affordable housing, development senior housing, enforce the building codes for quality housing.
so we just restated all of those numbers. That task is an ongoing task. Should be on there. Affordable housing, we're not in control of what house prices are.
Do what you can.
Is that
You do what you can.
right? Encourage development of senior housing. I suppose we can, but
I think
Who do you work with on that?
well, the Stowe group has theirs.
Yeah.
They even have openings right now. don't
No, there's a way to get into
they?
Stowe Group.
So, might be possible. What you're gonna have to do is, something like that, is find somebody who builds that house and say, hey, come take a look. Kind of thing. So, what you really need, a non-economic developer to do, right?
Well, I think we should be encouraged to develop
Right.
senior housing.
So just leave it.
So those 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just leave them.
There's some things coming.
How about, is there anything
I-
else?
I don't know if I like affordable or appropriate housing for our demographics or kind
Or
of
just housing.
housing. Yeah.
Because even like some of the subdivisions that we have in town with all these empty lots, there's something we could do to promote. the-
Well, we have the program where if you start building a house, it's part of your property taxes collected by the city of Oglesby rebated.
I was unaware of it.
So that means
Maybe
you'd have to
I
go
would have
to-
built a house last year, yeah.
You'd have to build a house again.
Right.
We kicked that off last October, November.
Oh, okay.
October.
Gotcha.
So how do people know about it?
Yeah, I wouldn't know about that.
Do realtors know
Well,
about that?
Where- yeah.
Yes,
And
yes.
come in
Okay.
and developers,
We had the Think Big thing where we gave the information to all the
Okay.
real estate agents who were selling lots, and we contacted the people who own lots in the city, like the bigger, like Creekside's owner and stuff like that, and let them know of it.
So should that be in here as a task?
Maybe promote our program better.
Promote new home
Well, encourage, promote. It's, it's,
Yeah.
same word.
Use synonym here, yeah.
What did we settle on?
Keeping all those
Incentive?
three.
I would say take out affordable. Encourage housing development and improvement, to be honest with you. I don't know how you do it.
In rehab?
Well, encourage all housing, right?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Encourage housing development.
Oh, I guess this next strategy is encourage maintenance of existing housing. So, yeah, you got ahead of myself.
Have you done that?
Keeping all those, changing affordable housing, encouraging maintenance of existing housing codes, or housing units and red lights.
So again, we updated all of our building codes.
We adopted a property maintenance code.
So do we need to instead change adopt to enforce?
Yes.
Do we have to maintain our maintenance code?
Well,
Enforce our maintenance code?
How about encourage enforcement of?
Yeah.
so the way that the ordinance was written.
Encourage enforcement of, yeah, I like that.
How about DCOA, DCEO?
That application went in last year.
And we should hear in July or August, maybe?
We hope, yep, we're open. So it applies for, the CDBG housing program.
Does Department of Commerce and Economic Development Opportunities or something like that.
So once you find that there's enough interest, it's able to qualify. The community to do that.
We want to continue to investigate the city's eligibility.
Right, we'll revert that from investigate to apply for, continue to apply for.
We can strike that first test then, of the property maintenance codes, or.
No, enforce.
Okay, moving on. Prioritize the housing code enforcement. And for new construction, rental properties and renovations to ensure safe housing stock in the city.
So we have a new building inspector, a little more aggressive than the past one, so we're doing a lot more inspection, I think, for new construction. And other things going on in the city with the department. So that's, does he do the rental inspections?
Yes.
Right.
Anything in there that?
I mean, all of it's
So
good.
the last one, you probably strike because the land development code requires that.
Yeah, plus the minimizing dead ends and cul-de-sacs.
That's in the next code.
Is it? So the last two are addressed by code?
Right.
Okay.
So it's just be enforced the land development code.
Yeah, maybe add that as a task.
Enforce land development code.
All right.
All right. Okay.
Presentation.
Halfway.
Oh, boy.
I appreciate your input.
Goal to improve or improve vegetation.
I think we're calling it. Postpone.
All right, we'll continue with the next meeting. Pick it up again. On the agenda here, well, we got we have a future meeting date. That's everything on the agenda. The 11th would be the second Wednesday in June. It's ahead of any, it's a Fun Fest activity, so none of that'll be going on yet, right? It doesn't start till the
Fun Fest is the 12th through the 14th, yeah.
Right.
So
15th.
Wednesday.
You probably don't want to have this the night before.
You wanna do it maybe.
Yeah, we want.
Can we do it the next week?
Yeah, I was gonna say the 18th.
Okay,
Can we
so
do
this
it
will be
the 18th?
Next meeting would be May or June 11th.
18.
Can we do it the 18th?
Do we want to do it the night before the fest? Is that what we're saying?
Well,
Is that what we're saying?
I was worried it was gonna be too hard on the city of Florida.
Right, right.
Becky saying she's good with it.
Oh, all right. We'll do it then.
So what's the consensus?
June 11th is better for me than the 18th, but that's just me.
I already can.
18th I'll be
June 11th or
in Iowa.
17th?
17th, I can't make it.
17th is a Tuesday.
Yeah.
So
I can make that.
Yeah, 18th.
11,
11th.
11, it's,
Let's leave it at the
Okay.
11th then if the city
June
doesn't
11th,
care.
future meeting. Okay, so it starts at 12. Any public comments at this point?
It's that 12th is the start of it.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved by Bernard, seconded by Vinegar. Any discussion? If not,
We've had
all
plenty.
those, call the roll.
Lizer,
Aye.
Watson. Minor. Mendez. Peters.
Aye.
Jericho.
Aye.
Parker. Leonard.
Aye.
Basic.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I was still looking for that parking thing.
I thought I read it in there, but maybe, you know what, our next one is transportation.
Yeah, I guess so, huh?
Because it said Uptown Business District needed it.
A couple weeks.
Somewhere else, and I'm like, I read it earlier
Yeah, I
today.
can't believe it, yeah.